Good to have you back on the show. Welcome back, my friend.
Good to be back.
All right. You were famously selective at the plate. You knew the strike zone. What are you seeing in Pete Crow-Armstrong, Joey?
Well, I watched some of his earlier this season at bats, and it looked a bit, and I'm sure he would admit the same, a bit chaotic. The ball in the middle of the plate was getting pulled foul. The ball high was beating him. The left-handed slider down and away ended up being a swing through. And I think what we're seeing is a combination of two things. It's the culmination of years of major league at bats, which you only get because you're a good defensive player and a good base runner. I think the message I want to send home to young players, kids, is really refine the base running and defensive part of the game, because it gives you that extra opportunity on a daily basis to get the plate appearance that makes you better. Major league batters get better by facing major league pitching. I was listening to PCA talk about his routine. He hits tee, he hits flip every day. You don't get better from tee and flip. You can make subtle mechanical adjustments, but the gains are made in game. I liken it to how our iPhones or our Androids update on a consistent basis. And so what I'm getting at is, if you really refine the parts of the game that are non-offensive, the base running, the defense, you get all those extra plate appearances to be able to have this 40-game stretch that is otherworldly, like PCA has been, to transition from, probably major leaguer to potential most valuable player candidate.
What's the most important thing when you're making those adjustments? Is it mechanical? Is it knowledge? Is there tech? Is it confidence? Is it emotional? I know you use the word flow a lot. How do you jump to that next level the way he has?
Yeah, it goes back to what I just said. You just have to show up for every single plate appearance. And, Pete, he has the good fortune of being maybe the best defensive center fielder in the game. He's an elite base runner. He's got, I think, the thing that he probably gets some credit for, but doesn't really get credit for. And I think that, I was speaking to a person from a major league front office about the type of players that they are looking for now. And they're looking for players with base athleticism and players that can end up with game reps blossom into the type of player that they could potentially, and they could potentially be, but you can't do that unless you hit 31 home runs last year. PCA has three, top tier 80 scale characteristics. He has the 80 power. If you've got a 240 ISO, that's darn near 80 power. Clearly 80 defense, clearly 80 run, and that buys you those at bats. So there's no machine you can use. We heard about Pages using the traject all off season. We hear about, when I played, I actually had some of I had our manager, Brian Price, who's a former pitcher. I would hit off of him like live game style at game speed. But the game reps are the most important ones. And, the change for PCA from the very beginning of the season, where if you threw him a middle fastball, it was either going to get fouled down. It was going to be fouled into the third base stands. It was going to get hooked down the right field line foul, or it's going to be a full swing through. And now all of a sudden, I like using this sort of thing. I like that he's starting to transition closer to the center of the field, and that's when you really get to use your pull side power.
Can you eliminate a zone? Like we have a little map here. It's not kind of a heat map sort of thing, showing the percentages of where he is, his basic swings at the top of the zone. You see a -21, -21, -18. That's a percentage decrease. But drastic decreases, I guess, in not swinging high pitch. You tell me if that's too simplistic, or where are you on a guy eliminating a certain pitch that you said, anything up high was beating him. What about that?
Right. So there's the part that I just described, where it's the player that's going to have these subtle, refinements, the micro adjustments that you can't even articulate. And then there's the big picture ideas that This is where a really good hitting coach comes in. This is where a really good analytics department comes in, where they collaborate and they give feedback to the batter, and it's big picture feedback. Hey, you would be best served if you swung less. You would be best served if you forgot about this part of the zone. You would be best served if you could figure out because he mentioned getting closer to the plate against left-handers. If you could somehow stop swinging at the ball up and the ball down and away, it's going to open up a ton of options for you. And so my best guess is somebody inside of the Cubs organization said something along the lines of like, dude, you stink at the top part of the zone. But they wouldn't say that. They would, just present data and say, you're ISOing 100 here, you're batting 100 here, you get, you swing through 50% of the balls at this part of the zone. And it's his responsibility to say, okay, all right, I'm no longer going to swing at the high pitch. I'm going to accept it as a strike, or I'm going to ABS it. And then we're just going to move on to the next pitch. And I would guess that that's the adjustment. And the next adjustment, and this is the last thing I'll say about that zone you just shared. The next adjustment is when the league realizes that he's not swinging at it, and then that's where you go back to the athleticism and the skill of being able to. Can I learn how to hit a high pitch? Can I hit it in the center of the field? Can I make sure I don't pop it out? Can I make sure I don't swing through? And these are the small adjustments that every single major league hitter goes through during the course of their career, especially in the modern day where the scouting reports are day to day, or even at bat to bat, not month to month or half season to half season.
Right. You wanted to see 1AB. I think did he hit a walk-off on this? And maybe you could talk. Yeah, let's go ahead. Here we go.
Oh, look at this. That's dismount of the year right there. That is as cool as it gets. And I'm the least cool person, on screen right now. But that's a moment.
That's good. So that's flow state then, right? That's like, as they say, the Zen shot where you don't even feel it, or where it's just beautiful.
When he gets to pull the Karl Malone and snags an MVP from our Jordan, they're going to be playing that video alongside of him when he's receiving the plaque. So,
wait, are you saying Shohei Ohtani should just win it?
You look at Jordan's career, it's either first or second, and Shohei's going to have the same sort of setup. So, it's PCA's time right now. We'll see whether or not he finishes strong.
Okay. Can I give you a random question you're not ready for? So I'm just wondering what you're thinking. Okay, so that's good. The big picture thing this week. A lot of clubs were like this, but the Tigers specifically, right? Detroit is 2.5 out of the final wild card. Still trade Skubal and Casey Mize. I'm wondering, your experience in baseball, can you recognize when, hey, we're not going to win a World Series, we might make the playoffs, it's not worth it, get assets back? Or if you're in a front office, will you say, no, we got to keep playing this out, maybe we can win?
I like when these middle tier teams, and it's a necessity for the bottom third teams to do stuff like this, but I like when the middle third teams do stuff like this, because to me you have to max out these guys you're not in all likelihood going to resign, and I get the sense that the Tigers don't feel like they're going to resign both guys. So you have to get as many players as you possibly can. And I think it's sharp. I mean, we're seeing a perfect example with CJ Abrams and Wood in Washington off of a Juan Soto trade. There's plenty of, I mean, the guy we just talked about, PCA, was a part of a deal not long ago.
Javi Baez.
So,
yeah.
Right. So I think that accumulating as much talent as possible, it's the thing that I don't want to go backwards, but I do wish that when I played that happened a bit more often. I think that you have to recognize that there's a window of time when you're not going to re-sign a guy and the player's at max value. And if you're not one of these, top 5-10 teams that can go beyond the payroll limit, that you have to be able to snag talent when you possibly can. So I like that they did that.
Interesting. Dan O'Dowd, Joey Votto is a ruthless GM. I did not know. I did not know that. There we go. Good stuff. Joey, can we do random question you're not ready for every week? That'd be good, right?
I love that. We need to change that honors roll picture. That is not me on that suit. My head is like a balloon. I thought you looked handsome, but all right. You want to change? We'll get the art department to work on it. Joey, great having you back on. Thank you very much.